What's going on, everyone? It's DV, and today we're going to be talking about limiteds in Islands. So we are going to talk about all the different limiteds currently in the game and which ones you should be worrying about and which ones you should pretty much ignore for the most part and not worry about for a while. But before I begin, if you could do me a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, that'd be awesome. So first you might be asking, DV, what are limited items? Limited basically means that there can't be more of whatever that item is. So as soon as that item goes limited, basically there's a finite number or a certain number, a fixed number that item can actually be in the game, so no more are being created, in other words. Whereas like if I were to go and like go over here and I could make more, you know, diamond pickaxes, or I could make more gilded steel axes, I could make more of these things. Well, the items we're going to be hitting today can no longer be made or acquired other than through trade. So you can trade with other players these items, but for example, the Formula 86 right here, these were a part of like a limited time event. Same with the Christmas update and so on. So in this video, I'm going to be covering what you should be worrying about. Like I said, like what are the items that you should actually be considering versus the items you should probably just ignore and not really waste your money on, because there's a lot of limited items. You can see we got about, I think there's about 22 here of different limiteds, and we're going to cover each one of these right now and why you should worry about them, starting from the most important to the least important, right? So let's start over here, right here with the Formula 86. So Formula 86 was part of the Witches update, and how you made Formula 86 is you would actually use this brewing stand. So we used to be able to make it through the brewing stand as well as through the workbench, and it used to be in here, right? So you'd be able to combine these candies over here. So these candies right here, you used to be able to combine all three of these and make formula. And the cool thing about formula is that you can actually, like, as soon as you throw this stuff, as soon as you throw it, you turn into rats, or at least people that you throw it into turn into rats. And so here's the problem. Here lies the problem with Formula 86 is, one is, you know, a lot of people actually, you know, held on to their candy thinking they would actually be able to produce more, but they ended up taking that out. We actually thought they were going to keep formula in here as part of the brewing stand so that we could go and craft all these candies into more formula. The problem is a lot of people thought that, and so they didn't actually convert their candies. And so we have a very limited amount of formula out of there. Even though these got duped heavily, you know, people are still throwing them like they're nothing, like they're actually still available. And so because people actually are throwing these a lot and they are limited items, the supply of Formula 86 continues to decrease every day. And since it's, you know, came out in October, think about the number of months that these things actually been thrown around. Yeah, they did get duped, but recently with the wipe, a bunch of these things were lost. And so, you know, and people are still throwing these like crazy. So I still have them valued at 600,000 because they are so valuable and they're so cool. Like these are one of the coolest items in the game, because you can, again, you can throw these and turn other players into rats. And imagine a year from now, you're not going to be seeing many of these. Trust me, you are not going to see very many Formula 86. So I put this as number one, the most important item in the game, because it's also timeless. Like unlike the seasonal stuff like White Snowman, you're probably only going to care about the White Snowman during the holidays or winter. Whereas this item here, you're going to want to use this year round, right? So it's going to be more popular than the White Snowman or any of these other items over here. So Formula 86, I would say stock up on. I would say they're worth 600,000. If you can find a better deal than that, go get it. Here lies the trouble. A lot of people are actually selling these because they have a bunch of them, right? And they need the money right now. So, you know, you're going to see these for a lot less than 600,000. I would say, you know, if you're going to sell it, you know, if I would keep it unless you're going to get 600,000 for it. But like I said, if you are a new player or you got wiped recently and you really need the coins, just go and sell it. It doesn't matter. But again, this is the number one. In my opinion, this is the order of importance here of what you should be, you know, collecting. So the next one is going to be White Snowman. And here's why I picked White Snowman as the second one. And technically you could even replace this as number one if you really, they're really closely tied here. The reason why I put White Snowman as number one is everyone is trying to buy these, but you can barely find them. So they're really, really hard to find. If you go to the Discord, you're going to just see mostly buy listings. Everyone wants to buy these for like 2 mil, you know, 2 to 3 million. And it's really, like I said, it's really, really hard to find them. I bought this one, I think, for like 3 million coins, and I got really lucky on that. Again, you know, it's really hard to find them for less than usually about 4 or 5 million right now. And even then, like, geez, like these are so hard to find. So if you have White Snowman, I would hold on to those, because once everyone starts getting their balances up to a point being able to afford these, you're going to be able to sell these for a lot more than what you're able to sell them right now. So, you know, I would hold on to them if you can. And then the next one over here is the Cutlass. So I know the Cutlass is kind of a weak weapon, but it is a really cool skin for the Aquamarine sword. So it's basically an equivalent of an Aquamarine sword. So in damage, everything attribute wise is pretty much the same as this, right? So it's very much like an Aquamarine. So you should really consider keeping the Cutlass or buying find them, especially if you see them for less than 3 million. And what you're going to notice is a pattern for very valuable items. Very valuable limiteds are typically going for about 3 million. So Cutlass was actually one of the items that never got duped. So you really want to consider keeping this if you can. If you can keep it, definitely keep it. If you don't have one, you should get one while you can. But Cutlass is going to continue to go up in value over time. So Tall Snowman, surprisingly, everyone picked the Tall Snowman for some reason. And that's why I think there's so few Wide Snowmen, is I think everyone just figured Tall Snowman was going to be the coolest or something. But because there's so many more of the Tall Snowman than the Wide Snowman, the Tall Snowman's not as up there. There's a lot more supply in the economy, and they're just easier to find overall. But Wide Snowman is the one everyone's after versus this one. Who knows why, other than that there's more Tall Snowman. Now, Snow Globe was a heavily duped item. You're going to see these going for anywhere between, as low as 500,000 coins all the way up to, a couple million coins. Typically, what I would say is they are worth 3 million to me. But if you can find them for under 1 million, and you should be able to, go ahead and get that. Over time, this is going to go up in value, but this is one of the coolest items you can find in the game currently. So, I've got a bunch here too. So let me show you what this looks like real quick. Look how cool this item looks. Like, how can you beat that? It just looks so cool. So, consider getting this if you can. It's just a really, really cool looking item, and it's well worth the coins. So definitely get that if you can. If you have a bunch of them, go ahead and sell them. Like I have 10 right now. I don't really care to have 10. I would say as long as you have at least 1 or 2 of these furniture ones, like this one, and at least 1 or 2 Wide Snowman, you're in pretty good shape. Formula, you want to have about like 100 of those if you can. Cutlass, you need at least 1. Speaking of volume, let's go over to ice, because there's a lot of ice out there, but ice went limited as well. Right now, it's only priced at 5,000 coins, which is a really good deal. Prior to the wipe, these were actually going for quite a bit. They were going for about 10,000 a piece. So, and they did go limited. So I have a bunch here. I have about 734. A lot of people are saying that they can't find them. So, consider that these are going to go up in value very quickly because they are high in demand. Plus, it's a really cool surface. If you like slide on it, it's kind of just a cool obby item. But it's just also just the fact that it's a special type of block. It's not like just a standard block with, looks. It actually has like physical properties where you can actually slide and stuff. I think it's going to go up in value over time. It is one of the only items in the game that actually affect your movement other than like conveyors and stuff. I would say ice is well worth it. It's definitely up there. Make sure you have at least 100 of those if you can. If you can afford it over time, definitely get those. Now let's go over to the trophies. Now the trophies got heavily duped as well prior to the wipe. And so because of that, I think they did actually wipe a bunch of these as well as part of the wipe, but they did get duped heavily. So they're not as rare. And that's why I don't actually have them as prioritized over the Christmas items over here, because these two right here and even the Snow Globe, even though they got duped heavily, they did get wiped as well. And they're actually more desirable than these, but the trophies are pretty cool. So if you don't have any trophies, definitely get some. Now you are going to see these going for cheaper. Like if you go to a couple different published islands, a lot of them actually have a surplus of these from their alts. So that's why they're going for a little cheaper. They're just trying to stack up on their money. And there's a lot of people with these. Even after the wipe, a lot of people still had a lot of these. So consider that. But over time, these are going to continue to go up in value because they are cool items and they are limited. So consider getting at least 1 of each trophy. I would actually assume you should at least have 1 of those. And if I were to prioritize any of them, I would obviously prioritize the Roblox Battles trophy, because a lot of people didn't actually even get those, even though they were a little easier to get on alts than any of the others. You should probably at least go and make sure you at least have that one, and then the PvP trophy, and then the witch one. The witch one got duped the most, so I would say that one's probably the least important, and I would go for this one because it's actually a really cool little trophy too. So the wreath was actually one of the easiest ones to get, so a lot of people had a ton of these, but they are actually really cool. You can actually put them on, you can hang them up on walls and stuff, and they're just a really cool item. And then the shovel, not many people really cared about the shovel as much, but it is a cool tool item. The reason why they didn't really care about the shovel is because it basically was the same as this, right? So it was just a reskin of this item. So because you could actually already have a shovel, most people are like, well, why would I care about the skin for my shovel? So this was like the least popular one in my opinion, but the wreath was actually a decorative item, so it was a little bit more popular, whereas having like a special looking this just didn't really matter to most people, especially since you don't really use your shovel that much other than shoveling snow. If it was like maybe a pickaxe, like a Christmas pickaxe, it probably would have been more popular. They are kind of hard to find if you're looking just for like the hard to find limiteds. You don't really see many of the Christmas shovels, so if you're looking for really, really limited items, this is a good one to get. Similar to the Cutlass, it's going to be pretty popular, probably long term, especially if they were to add more functionality to shovels. Like if you had to use a shovel for digging up dirt or something else, that might actually crawl up the list a little bit. And then pumpkin seeds were from the witches update. The only downside of pumpkin seeds is not many people care about pumpkin seeds because you can't really do a whole lot with them still, and you can't even make any more jack-o'-lanterns. So it's not as popular as it used to be, but it is a limited seed, and pumpkins are just cool in general, but you just can't make that much money off of them, so they're not as desired, and that's why they're going for a little less than they would, but they are still limited limited, like I said, and it's just a cool thing to have to flex later on. Christmas presents are, so these are just really cool vending machine items to have, but as soon as you actually pick them up off your island, so if you dig them off your island, they are kind of dumb. And the reason why I say they're kind of dumb is, look at, so all you can do, so this is as much as you can do, and then you can open it and you're going to get like iron or coal or something really odd. So it's not like a super great item. It's just cool to display. So if you're going to go like this and say, look, I have a gift for you, and you're going to drop it to someone, that's as cool as it's going to be. And that's about it. You can't actually replant them. It's not a block anymore. You can't actually replant it. If you could actually replant it back on the ground, I think it would be a really cool item, and it would actually be worth more. But really what this comes down to is just a cool looking item to have inside your vending machine and in your inventory to be able to go and display on your hand and equip it. That's it. So just equipping it is the only thing you can really do. So again, as soon as you dig it up off your island, pretty much it's just a vending machine or storage item. It's not really, useful beyond that. That's why the price did go down from 200,000. It's at about 30,000 now. I would say this is going to probably continue to slide down the list just because it's kind of useless. And then chocolate bar, and so all the candies here in the chocolate bar. This was part of the witch update. I have 50,000 here just for long-term pricing. Right now, you're going to be able to find these for about 20,000, sometimes less. Well, some people are actually selling these for even 5,000. I think that's way too low, especially since they are limited items. You can't get them anymore, and the fact that they're consumable. When I mean consumable is basically as soon as you use it, it disappears, right? So the inventory is constantly going down on these. So supply is always decreasing the more you use these for food, because you can actually eat them, right? So like you can see, they're just food, and they actually will turn you into a rat, which is kind of funny. So it will actually turn you into a rat for a moment. It's kind of a funny item to actually have and use. I've actually used it while, battling core, just because I didn't have any other food. So I would just eat that and it would turn into a rat while I was fighting core. But, I would say these are probably going to be worth about, so right now they're worth about 30,000, 35,000. Like I said, I have them valued at 50,000 because I think that's going to be more of a better price for you long-term to consider that it's actually going to be worth a little bit more. So I would hold on to those if you can. And then jack-o'-lantern is just it's a pretty cool item here. So, the thing with jack-o'-lanterns, I actually did end up making a ton of them. What I like about them is they actually do light up. So they are a light block, which is really cool, right? So you can see how bright they're getting. They're kind of like sea lanterns in a sense then. The thing is you can't make these anymore. You had to use pumpkins to be able to make these. And they're just a really cool, scary looking block. The only downside is you can only really use them during Halloween. So who knows if they're going to bring them back. Otherwise, it kind of looks weird to have on your island when it's not Halloween. They are limited, so, who knows. But now the animal well-being kit just went limited. So the value went up. And so it's kind of useless because now you can just go up to your pets and just inspect them without it. And because of that, the animal well-being kit doesn't really make any sense anymore. It's just a, cool item to have, and it is limited. So maybe consider keeping yours. If you only have one, keep it in a vending machine just in case they wipe it from the accounts. It'll at least stay inside the vending machines. And then lastly, Frost Slime Ball. This was actually part of the Christmas update as a drop from Frost Slimes. And so they recently removed those from the game. They were in the game a little bit longer than Christmas, and so a lot of people have these. That's why it's not very valuable. Plus, you can't really use them for anything. It's just a cool item to have as a memory of actually having a Frost Slime Ball. So that's what we were dropping when we got Frost Slimes. I wish they actually had a purpose, but they just never had a purpose. Just like I said, it's more of a token or souvenir of killing Frost Slimes. And who knows, if they ever make like a snow world or an ice world, they may come back. So consider that. They might actually come back. So I can't really overvalue these yet because they may come back. And now we got the test totem. So test totem's been around forever. It's kind of useless. It is like it's like basically a regular iron totem, except you can't space them very close to each other. So what I mean by that is, if you try to place these two, so if you try to place two next to each other, so there's one right there, it's got to have a space in between. So because that's kind of dumb. It is cool for decoration purposes if you're going to use it, but beyond that, it's kind of useless. And these got duped heavily, just the same as test blueprints. Test totems got duped so heavily that people still had tons of these in their inventory even after the wipe. And same for the test blueprints. Test blueprints are basically one of the most useless items. At least a test totem will actually give you like a iron, just like a regular totem would. Test blueprints do nothing. They're just basically an empty blueprint that absolutely do zero. They're basically just a dumb thing to trade back and forth because it is kind of rare. And so people want to test blueprint because they think it's kind of cool. So I rank this one the least. Plus, I ended up having a ton of them. I've sold a bunch, but I actually still had over 1,000 of these after the wipe. So, I just don't think, I don't think it's actually very useful or valuable in the game. So I would actually weight these to the least. Although, test totems, you can still use them and they're still kind of cool for decoration. I would say they're some of the most useless items in the game. So I'm actually curious what you all think about the different limited items. Which ones are you wishing you had? Which ones do you already have? Especially the Formula 86. Man, I actually want more of these. I need like 1,000 of these. I need like 1,000 of these so I can guarantee my wealth in the future, because if I had 1,000 of these, I would actually be very, very rich long term. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button. And as always, I will see you tomorrow. Peace.